All right, welcome everybody, and thanks for waiting. Joe, would you like to kick us off with
Yeah, sure.
intro?
Yeah, thanks everybody for joining. We appreciate it. I was glad to see a lot of names of friends and former colleagues on the invite list. So glad to have you join us. So we'll do some quick introductions and we'll get straight into it. I'm Joe LaMountain. I'm a vice president at Reingold. I've been with the company for about 10 years, and I work almost exclusively with nonprofits, both for marketing and communications, as well as for government affairs and advocacy. And I mostly serve in a sort of strategy and solutioning role, working with sort of organizations to help them achieve their business objectives. Chris, you want to say a few words about yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Christopher Morris, Senior Digital Director here at Reingold. And I bring experience in healthcare, nonprofits, advocacy, as well as, I guess, meeting general business objectives to bear when crafting strategies for our digital marketing and advertising partners. I am also, I guess, a self-proclaimed data geek, so please forgive me if I get a little too in the weeds at times. I guess also, if you have any questions while we're going through the presentation, please feel free to add them in the Q&A section, so you don't have to worry about forgetting your question. If we're able to answer it during the presentation, we will. Otherwise, we'll get to it at the end when we're in the discussion period.
Yeah, so just a quick word about Reingold. For those of you who don't know, we're a full-service marketing and communications firm, about 300 people. We do everything from audience research, brand and message development, to campaign and outreach development and execution with digital advertising, social media, connected TV, out of home, print, all kinds of advertising. We have a technology practice area, video production, kind of do it all. So digital advertising is the one area where I think we have sort of probably the most deepest experience. And that's why we're focusing today's webinar on digital advertising. So there's a lot of changes that are coming up in the landscape for digital advertising, a lot of it, as a result of sort of privacy changes. And we know that digital advertising is really important for nonprofits, for fundraising, for advocacy, for public awareness, for membership. So what we want to do here today is share with you some of the things that are changing and some of the things that aren't, and help so you can begin to plan for the changes. We're going to share a case study. And as Chris had mentioned, we're going to have plenty of time for conversation at the end. But if there are questions that come up as we're talking, because Chris is getting really deep into the technology and the pieces of it, please put them in there and we can answer them along the way or answer them at the end of the session. So, Chris, I'll hand it over to you to get through to start us off.
Perfect. All right. Let's see here. All right, so before we get into the potential solutions that nonprofits can use to facilitate your digital campaigns, let's have a quick recap into what cookies are and the changes being implemented that will affect third-party cookie usage. That said, it would be beneficial to discuss the three main buckets that data is often categorized into. The first being, well, first-party data, then second-party data, and third-party data classifications. First-party data is essentially information you own, such as your email and donor databases. Second-party data is another organization's first-party data, such as Facebook's user data. And third-party data is information on other people that wasn't directly given to the provider, such as list brokers. This information is usually first-party data that's sold to a provider for the purposes of developing audiences, as well as learning more about the data you have on file. So what are cookies? Cookies are a way to anonymously track and reach your audiences across multiple interactions online, whether that's measuring on-site performance or serving your audience an ad elsewhere on the internet. The biggest feature that cookies provide is the anonymized targeting of prospective audiences. This way, we don't know who specifically has seen an ad. Access to these third-party cookies are set to go away in the next 1.5 years. And these are essentially tracking pixels used by sites other than your own for the purposes of advertising. Now, they facilitate a lot of the targeting parameters we currently use to ensure that our messages are relevant to the recipient and don't feel like spam, using features such as frequency capping and interest targeting. These third-party cookies are set to end by the close of 2024, but first-party cookies, like the ones housed on your own site, are expected to remain largely unchanged. Now, I know nonprofits rely on reaching new audiences that aren't yet familiar with your mission. So losing access to established third-party data pools makes reaching relevant audiences much more difficult. Many of the targeting criteria we use today are expected to be impacted next year, such as interest targeting of an audience based on their internet browsing history, or personalized ads based on a combination of interest and behavioral data, retargeting an audience based on which programmatic ads they've been served. Now, fortunately, some things aren't going away, but they are changing. I'll let Joe tell you more about that.
Yeah, one thing that's not changing is the use of third-party data that is developed through, people opting in. And the one that we have found, we do, again, a lot of work in healthcare. And one of the ones that we found that's most effective and we're happy is not going away is being able to target people by an ICD-10 diagnosis code. So this is, again, germane for healthcare. So for nonprofits, this means you can target people with a known diagnosis of a medical condition, and you can overlay other targeting criteria on top of that. So geography or gender or other sort of data that, you can target with, like through a Facebook platform or something like that. So there's a lot of opportunity to use these. I'm not sure how many nonprofits are actually using this third-party ICD-10 code data for donor acquisition, advocacy recruitment, disease registries, or clinical trials. But it's a very, very effective tool to find the right people that a lot of nonprofits are looking for. So we're glad that that's staying the same.
Perfect. All right. So if most third-party options are being sunset by the end of 2024, then what can you do about that today? For this discussion, let's start with the first-party options you will have to reach audiences without relying on third-party targeting. Examples of this are pre-existing audience sources or segmentations your organization might have, such as email lists, donation records, etc., which can be used to create an advertising audience. These can also be used on some platforms to create lookalike audiences of the people who share similarities with your first-party data. Some ways to grow your files to enhance this audience could be submissions to a survey, a quiz, or lead generation forms that indicate that a person is within a target audience. You can also build smart website remarketing segments by utilizing website traffic that is specific content pages that are designed with a given audience in mind. This way, traffic to the page can feed ads driving to conversions or other next steps for your campaign. So consider making pages on your site that are dedicated to specific audience personas and steps in your marketing funnel. To dig a little bit deeper into what remarketing is, it allows your first-party website traffic and data to be used when serving ads. This allows you to reach anyone who's visited the site or select pages, regardless of the media that drove them to your site. This means that an ad on Facebook can target people who previously engaged with you from Twitter, email, or partner organizations, as well as from Facebook. The drawback here is that the audiences are limited to people who have taken specific actions on your site, and this may take significant time to reach scale. For some additional things you can do, you can become or partner with an SEO expert to improve your organic search rankings. A tip here is to organize page content on your site around specific themes, audiences, and goals. This way, you can help tailored content get listed higher in organic search results, driving more traffic to your website and encouraging engagement on specific pages that can feed future remarketing efforts. Now, for ongoing list acquisition efforts, you can utilize a Google grant to take advantage of free search ads for your nonprofit. The Google Grant program will provide funds each month to run search ads for free to longer string terms, such as your organization's name, plus membership, plus donate, plus sign up, or what have you. But there is a cap on how much you can bid per click. This helps your organization save money and fits nicely into the goal of growing your first-party email and donor databases. Now, you can also tap into lead gen ads on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn to help grow your email file through a paid but efficient effort. All right, so that's first-party data. Let's get into some second-party data options. And as a reminder, second-party data is simply someone else's first-party data. So while third-party cookie-based retargeting options will be unavailable, the user-based options found on social platforms like Facebook will still provide retargeting as another option for reaching an audience. The key here is to ensure that your ad creative was designed to resonate with your intended audience. One option, if you're unable to target your desired audience, is to create ad retargeting audience pools, if you will. We've done this from time to time to educate an audience on a topic and then activate those who express interest in the topic by stopping and watching our education videos to completion. To do this, utilize a broad-reaching video engagement campaign designed for your intended audience that focuses on driving video completions. By optimizing this broad upper funnel effort toward video completions, Facebook will start to optimize toward your intended audience because that's who your messaging was intended to resonate with. The higher quality audience of people who watch the video to completion can then be retargeted with ads to encourage them to learn more or take further action. Our last suggestion here, which many nonprofits are used to when it comes to direct mail efforts, but most people in the digital side might not be aware of, is list sharing agreements. This is simply sharing first-party audience data between nonprofits who share your mission, allowing all parties involved to grow and add relevant contacts to their first-party data. Now, retargeting, we have already looked at remarketing. Now let's talk about the second-party retargeting options here. Retargeting allows you to utilize second-party ad engagement to be used when serving ads. This allows you to reach anyone who's engaged with your in-platform content, regardless of whether they visited your site yet. Some examples here include, well, people who have watched your video ad to completion or have submitted a lead gen ad. And this means retargeting is helpful for advancing people from initial awareness into an educated audience who can then take action. The drawback here is that the audiences are limited to people who have taken specific actions on your in-platform ads and may still take some time to reach scale. You can also mix strategies here to utilize retargeting with your first-party acquisition efforts. So while you grow your own first-party data utilizing lead gen ads, having video creative in those ads allows you to generate two potential audiences at the same time, one from completed video views and the other from form submissions. Let's pivot a little bit and take a deeper dive into first-party and second-party examples so you can better understand what your organizations can do. Let's see, next slide, is it going? There we go. All right, bringing together two of my favorite things, that being first-party data, as I mentioned, a bit of a data geek, and free. So search engine optimizations are a good way to bolster website traffic without spending money on advertising. This increased site traffic leads to larger remarketing audiences for your advertising efforts and hopefully more revenue and email signups. Here on the left here in the blue table, you can see an example of website page content that's been organized around specific themes, audiences, and goals. In this example, the education-focused What is PBA page is built around the relevant search terms that we want the page to rank for whenever these terms are searched on Google or Bing. On the top right here, you can see what the page looks like and relevant terms have been highlighted. Now, using terms in the domain, page titles, subheaders, and body copy are important as they establish the hierarchical relationship between different content segments on the page. This importance, however, has lessened over the years, but it's still relevant. What's more important is that search engines prioritize rankings by engagement with your site content. So that way they can help ensure that people find value in these results. And that means that pages need to be organized strategically with SEO and the user experience in mind. And as you can see in the bottom right there, if you search for what is PBA, our landing page was the first search result. All right, so one thing I'll say here is to ensure that your own marketing efforts, whether that's email, social, etc., follow best practices. By maintaining strong engagement with your own efforts, you will greatly impact the value your data has when it comes to advertising. For email, consider running an ongoing automated email program to drive desired engagement. For example, you can do an automated series to people who haven't donated in the last 11 to 13 months, asking them to give again or renew their membership, as that will help retain the size of your donor file. You can also launch a quarterly engagement email series to get people who haven't opened and or clicked on an email in the last 6 months, as that will help bolster the size of your active email file. These efforts are designed to generate segments of your database that represent those who care most about your organization. The active donors and email recipients in these segments will provide the best source data for any ad lookalikes you might create. I highly recommend that you utilize triggers and automated programs to keep your owned audiences engaged. In the example shown here, we're thanking someone for their recent donation and then serving them a survey to get to know them better, as well as feeding a major donor segment based on their gift amount. So here are a few tips on how you can refine your email data to build ad targets. Those who open and click on emails regularly are more likely to take a desired action versus those who don't engage. So they provide a good source file for lookalike audience creation. Surveys promoted early on by email allow you to know more about who your audiences are, assisting with both demographic and interest targets of your ads. And of course, segment your email and donor lists to provide higher quality ad audiences for specific asks. Now for social, showcase acquisition engagement messages and demonstrate the value of joining or supporting your organization to grow your first-party database. Now, in addition to posts, engage with those who comment on your social content or message your handles and ask them to sign up or join. Here are some examples of just what that looks like. So on the left, we have a post asking people to sign up and get involved. In the middle on top, we have a post asking people to engage with a biannual survey, so we know more about them as well as what their needs are. Below that, we have a Giving Tuesday themed post asking people to donate. And to the right is an example of a new engagement opportunity you have on Facebook. Facebook's new page management tools for organic content allow your page to privately message anyone who has commented on your posts within the last 7 days. And those interactions go straight to Messenger, so nobody else who's engaged with that post sees these responses. You can utilize this free feature to drive organic signups and memberships. Now, when it comes to other owned media efforts, such as chat options on your website, SMS text messaging, or any other non-paid efforts, the key is to follow the same themes we've outlined for email and social, which means follow best practices, engage your audiences, and direct them to a relevant acquisition or retargeting effort. This way, you can deliver immediate value for your nonprofit and bolster future advertising efforts. Now, if I were to boil everything down, I could probably fit it into 3 major takeaways for you. The first, expand your available first-party data and utilize it to generate high-quality targeting segments. To do this, you can utilize organic content and strategic uses of paid media to grow your email and donor lists. In addition to that, ensure that your owned marketing efforts can effectively engage with your audiences to improve the quality of your first-party data. Second, use second-party data to build audiences that fit your needs despite any platform targeting limitations. And then third, start to grow your first-party data and own media programs now while third-party cookies are still available, essentially taking advantage of that 1.5 years we have left. The last thing I want to leave you with is this. Take advantage of any opportunity you have to start a conversation about your nonprofit. Then direct people to an engagement that will benefit your future advertising and remarketing programs. Thank you for joining us today, and I'll hand everything back over to Joe. Joe, do we have any questions in the Q&A, or does anyone have any questions?
Sorry, I was on mute.
Okay.
I apologize. So I want to say thank you, Chris, but also curious to know if anyone has any questions about some of the data in here or some of the things we talked about. I'm curious to know how folks are using, digital advertising in their daily sort of work in their nonprofit. Are you using any of this third-party data now? Are you looking to build up first-party data sets? I don't see any questions, which means that unless there are any pop up, I think this is going to essentially represent the conclusion of the session. Well, we would be happy to talk with you about any of this stuff privately if you don't want to talk about it now. And we're going to put our contact information on the screen. And if there's any questions about this data or about this information, or if there's any way you think that we might be able to help you, we'd be happy to have a conversation with you, just brainstorm and kick ideas around. So we appreciate everybody taking time out of their day and coming and participating in this session. And we hope you found it useful. And we hope to talk to you again sometime soon.
All right. Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.